Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Kenzie. If you did not know that, then now you know. And you guys, today I'm going to be comparing the vintage classic flap to a modern new age classic flap. And I'm going to be giving you the pros and cons of each one so you can see the differences. So hopefully it will help you choose if you're between a vintage or a modern one. If this is the first time you're ever seeing me, then hello, I'm so happy to have you. My name is Kenzie. I make a lot of videos about luxury handbags, luxury fashion, travel, jewelry, but mostly handbags. I like this a lot, but today we do have a vintage to modern type comparison video. If any of that sounds fun to you, if you like the idea, then I would ask you consider clicking the subscribe button and give this video a like and ding a little bell down there so you're notified every time I upload. And you guys, without any further ado, let's get into the video. Hi, hello everyone. How are you doing this morning? I thought that I would make this video because my mom still owns this bag. This is her classic flap, but I asked her if I could borrow it for a couple of days just so I could do this video. But yeah, we do have my old vintage classic flap. This is the one that I used to have probably about a year ago. Maybe, no, I sold this to my mom early in the year. So I sold this to her, I think around like April or May, something like that. So she's had it for quite some time, but this is the one that I used to have. So I just love it. I love that it like stayed in the family. And then I have one of my classic flaps here. This is the caramel classic flap and it is from the 21P collection. So it is a more modern classic flap compared to the vintage ones. And it is also lambskin. I have two classic flaps. I have this one and I also have one that is in caviar, which is this one right here. But I just thought since the vintage one is lambskin too, I might as well just use this one and do the comparison with my caramel one because it's also lambskin. But yeah, if you're somebody that has kind of gone between the vintage and a more modern classic flap and you're just not sure which one to actually go for, I hope this video helps and we'll just go ahead and get started. So going over the vintage classic flap first, I will do like an overview of this bag just so you can see the differences. The number one thing that you're probably going to see is that the quilts on this bag are a lot more flat compared to the modern classic flap. So we honestly don't know. Maybe someone does, I'm not entirely sure, because this bag is a 96 vintage. It's either 94 or 96. I always get confused. And I'm not sure if the classic flaps back in the 90s or 80s just looked like this. I don't know if that was the style, if they just had the flat quilting all the time, or if it's something that over time the air or something leaves the quiltings. I have no idea, but over time the quiltings do eventually get flat. So I'm not sure which one it is, if it was just the style of the time or if the quiltings got flat with age. But that is the biggest difference that you're going to see between the vintage and the modern classic flaps. And this one is black with gold hardware. And then it also has the Mona Lisa smile pocket on the back here. So comparing that to the new classic flaps or like newer ones, this one again is from the 21P collection. You can see how puffy this bag is. The quilts are really, really voluminous. They're very plump. They have a lot of air inside of them. I assume it's air. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but they are very, very puffy. And the bag, the newer ones just have a lot more, I guess, dimension than the older ones, because the older ones, like I said, are pretty just flat all around. So that is one big comparison between the two. And of course, this one has the Mona Lisa pocket on the back as well. But that is going to be the one hugest difference, I feel like, between these two bags. One other massive difference that I can see is the differences in the gold hardware shades. Now, you can still buy classic flaps nowadays with the bright gold hardware, but it is a lot less common. Nowadays, you're going to see kind of champagne gold hardware or like a light gold hardware, or with Chanel aged gold hardware. They have that option too, but it is pretty rare nowadays where you see a classic flap with bright gold hardware. But this one is just that. It is the bright gold hardware. And if you can tell, on this classic flap, there is this little logo right on that CC right there. This tells you that this bag was made before 2008, I believe, because in 2008, they stopped using 24 karat gold plating on their classic flaps. So all of the gold hardware on this bag is 24 karat gold plated. It's not solid 24 karat gold because this bag would be $1 million, but it is 24 karat gold plated hardware. So that is why it has stood up so long. Like, it has really no wear on the hardware, and yeah, it just looks beautiful. It's got like tiny little scratches, but it looks fantastic. Also, one thing you will have noticed with the logo in general is that on the vintage classic flaps, the logo is a lot bigger, I think, and it's just, again, it's flat. The CC is very flush to this little piece of fabric right here, and it's just very, very flat. Compared to the new classic flaps, you can tell already that this is not bright gold hardware. It is more of a champagne gold. It's like a light gold hardware, and they don't have that little logo on the CC. So this is, I think, 16 karat gold plated or 14 karat gold plated hardware. So it's definitely, the quality went down, obviously. Of course, they have to do that. So on these bags, on both classic flaps that I have, it does not have 24 karat gold plated hardware. But if you can tell also on the CC, the logo is just a lot skinnier, I feel like, and it's also a bit more round. Does that make any sense? But like, compared to the vintage one, the logo is so much bigger and it's flat. So hopefully you can tell what I'm talking about. And it's just one difference that I've noticed regarding vintage and modern classic flaps. So when it comes to differences in the actual style of the bag, that's pretty much going to be it. The inside is the same on both bags. So these are both double flaps. So they are like the traditional classic flap style, meaning that there are two flaps on the inside. So you have this first flap here. That's this, just looks like that. And then you have this second little flap right here. When you have the black classic flaps, the interior is usually always burgundy. So you have that, and then I currently have this one stuffed on the inside just to help keep its shape. Here is what it looks like on the inside. And then I guess another thing, the only other thing that I've really been able to tell with these classic flaps is that the vintage ones don't say like Chanel Paris on the inside right here. They just say Chanel, and then the Paris part is actually going to be, I don't want to show you because I don't want to like hurt the bag, but the Paris part is actually in this lip right here. Yeah, it says made in France. I can't really show you because I know that it's just gonna, I don't want to hurt the bag, but it does say it right inside of this little lip right there. And this one does also have a, what's the word? I'm blanking on the word right now. Authentication card. I think my mom took it out. I don't know where she put it, but this one did have an authentication card. That's how Chanel used to authenticate their bags. This one also has a authentication card because this, I believe, was the last collection that they did before they did microchips. So I will show you just one difference between these two. But here is my authentication card for this bag. And this is basically what it looks like. So it looks like this, but when it comes to these more seasonal, kind of like more fun colors, I say fun, this is brown, but in general, these that are more seasonal, the first flap right here is going to match the second flap. So even though that this one, it's all one color, it all is just supposed to match, whereas the black has the burgundy interior. So yeah, those are the main differences when it comes to the actual look of the bag. Now, one thing I do want to show you really quick, just because we are doing a comparison. So this one again was from the 21P collection. It's a 31 series. Now this one, this is the only time I'm really going to talk about this bag in this video, just because this one's caviar. I wasn't really going to talk about this, but just to give you another example, this one is from the 23P collection, and this one has a microchip. Can you see that little square right in there? That is the microchip. The collection after this one, I believe, one or two collections after this one is when they started doing the microchips. Anyway, so there's that one. That's the last time you're gonna see her today. That, again, is pretty much the only differences on the outside. Now, the other differences we can talk about is, of course, quality. We can talk about pricing. We can talk about just the overall evolution of Chanel when it comes to vintage/modern. So let's talk about quality. There has been like a big meme in the past few years that Chanel's quality has just basically imploded. Like, there's so many people that are having issues with their bags. Now, I don't know if that is the case as of like right now in October, because I haven't really heard much of Chanel in a while. Actually, I feel like they've been relatively under the radar, and I don't think that they're in like a bunch of controversy at the moment. So maybe their quality issues are starting to disappear a little bit. And I have also heard a tiny bit that their quality has been getting a little better. I'm not sure how true that is. If it does get better, we love that. However, these bags right here, this one again is from the 90s, and you can just tell how good it's held up. Like, genuinely, the leather is still so beautiful, other than the fact that the quilts are flat, which is not anything that we could control. This is just gonna happen. It will probably eventually happen to this one. But other than the fact that the quilts are no longer puffy, this bag looks phenomenal. It still has its shape really well. This is not new, obviously, this was pre-owned. So the person that had this before me, I'm not sure if it was just one other owner or if it had multiple owners before me, but whoever they were, they really kept this bag in good conditions, and the hardware still looks really good. The only thing that I've noticed on the vintage bags is that the leather can look a little bit dry. Not on the black ones per se, because the black ones, I feel like it's just hard to show wear on a black bag. But I used to have a vintage green classic flap. Oh my God. Comment down below if you remember when I had that bag. That was a while ago, but that one was a older vintage to this one. That was like a 98 vintage, and the leather on that one was so dry. It was cracked. You could just tell that it was old. Sometimes, depending on how it was kept, the leather can crack. It can start to not peel, but it just starts to like look its age, and it starts to look like it needs some moisturizer. But yeah, this one just still looks amazing. With it being as old as it is, there's nothing wrong with it. Classic flaps built back in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, they were really built to last, let me tell you, because the classic flaps nowadays, again, I don't know if Chanel's quality issues have kind of rectified, I guess, but these ones, the ones that we're getting nowadays, you're lucky to have them last 5-10 years. Like, you're lucky to have them last a few years, because it feels like something's always wrong with them. People are having issues where like the straps are breaking. People are having issues to where this hardware just falls off. People are having issues to where the inside stitching that holds the two flaps together, it breaks, and then you just can't use the bag. There have been so many quality issues with Chanel in the more modern time that I just feel like going vintage, you're basically just guaranteeing yourself a handbag for life. So I do think that vintage does win out on that aspect. And if you want it to last you a long time, you really have to go with vintage. I mean, if you want a modern and a new classic flap, go off. I love that for you. If you're not worried about the puffy texture, if you're not worried about the slightly new design or whatever, then go for vintage, because number one, it's gonna be cheaper, and number two, it's just gonna last you forever. Now, a point that I do have to say for more modern classic flaps is that I just feel like modern classic flaps are fucking beautiful. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I just think they're so stunning, especially lambskin ones. Of course, I said you wouldn't see her again, but here she is. This one is caviar, and I just think it's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen in my life. Like, I just don't even comprehend how gorgeous this bag is. And this one right here as well, it's just so puffy, it's so luxurious, it's so soft. The modern classic flaps, to where they do have a bunch of quality issues, I just don't know why I still love them. Just the look of them, I'm obsessed. I just love it. And maybe that's just a me problem. Maybe it's a personality trait, or like, I don't know, like a personal preference situation. But I just love the look of the modern classic flaps over the vintage ones. It's all personal preference. So you might like the vintage look more than the modern look, and that's great. But for me, I just love the modern look. I know that I'm like risking it when it comes to the quality and stuff, but I'm just stupid, I guess. I don't know. I love the look of the modern ones. I just think that they look so stunning, and they just look like pieces of art. I don't know. That's one point for the modern, I guess. I really, really like the way they look. They just look so luxe and so pretty. I don't know. Now, talking with price, the modern classic flaps are just stupid, okay? Absolutely stupid. This one I got pre-loved. This one was not new. I got this one from Fashion File, and I got a really good deal on this. Like, I just couldn't even believe I got a very good deal on this bag. It's still stupidly expensive. Like, I don't think I'm gonna add any more classic flaps into my collection for the foreseeable future, because they're a lot. It's a lot of freaking money for no reason. And for the fact that they have quality issues, and for the fact that their hardware is no longer 24 karat gold plated hardware. It's just hard to spend that amount of money on a handbag. Now, I know people do it. I did it. So Chanel is like, ooh, we can just keep increasing the prices because people are still gonna buy it. And that's awful. Like, Chanel, I really hate that about the company. So if you did want to get one, again, I would definitely look at pre-loved. Not even vintage. You can, of course, look at vintage, but even if you want a modern classic flap, still look at the pre-loved market, because the prices are a little bit cheaper. They're not gonna be as cheap as vintage, of course, but they are gonna be a bit more cheap than cheap. I say, none of this is cheap. But comparatively, if you went into the Chanel boutique and dropped like 11K or 10K on a handbag, if you bought it online secondhand, you might be able to get it for like 8 or 9. Oh, I can't even believe I'm saying that. That's so stupid. Anyways, so yes, I would still definitely look at pre-loved markets, Fashion File. I would look at Redilux or Redilux on Instagram. They are incredible for pre-loved pieces, and they even have a lot of new pieces as well. That is where I got this beautiful baby, was from Redilux. I'll link them down below in case you haven't seen them before. But yes, if you are wanting a classic flap, I would probably end up going with vintage or something pre-loved, of course. But if you want something that's going to be more on the affordable, dare I say, price range, I would go with vintage, because this right here, you could probably get for like 4 or 5 grand, which again, stupid. But comparative to buying it at the boutique for more than double the price, I feel like it's good. You know what I mean? All in all, I really think that vintage is the way to go. Unless you are just somebody that just loves the look of the modern classic flaps like moi, then I think vintage is gonna be your best bet. It's something that it's gonna last forever, because those pieces that were made back in the 70s, 80s, 90s are built to last, and they're gonna last you another 30 years probably. As long as you take care of them, and if you treat them like the age they are, they're little grandmas, okay? So if you treat them like such, then they should last a lot longer as well. But you're really gonna get your money's worth, to be honest, because if the bag hasn't broken in 20 years, it's probably not going to break, you know, now. Definitely would recommend doing vintage if you really wanted any bag, not just a classic flap, but you could do a vintage Gucci Jackie bag. You could do a vintage Hermes, a vintage really anything Louis Vuitton. They're all gonna be better quality at that point. Anyways, there's that. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are between vintage and modern classic flaps. Which one do you lean more towards? Which one do you prefer more? Also, let me know in the comments if you have any classic flaps in your collection, if you have vintage ones, modern ones, pre-loved ones, all that good stuff. Or just leave me a comment down below telling me anything, because I'm nosy and I want to know that. But you guys, thank you for watching this video today. I really hope that you did enjoy it. If you did, then go ahead and click up the like button for me, and then subscribe if you want to, and be sure to ding the little bell down there so you're notified every time I upload. And you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!